I'll do the mile, I'll give it to her too, so she can show me how it works. It takes me like.
Well, that is cool, man. Look at that.
before I figure something
Oh,
out.
don't tell Chris that.
awesome.
that's
Oh,
not-
wow.
Don't tell Chris that's an option.
Oh, Chris will tape
I
everything.
know.
He might actually even have the band up here.
Yeah, no, we're good. Because you know he's gonna cover an Outfield song, I don't know.
Friday afternoon lunches will now be in the Beverly Market.
Friday afternoon lunches are awesome.
Cool.
So what is this thing? Because
And
Chris
is that recorded?
tagged me on it one day that I was there and I wasn't. And I'm like, dude, what do you guys do? You like show old videos?
We have a projector in the training room.
Yeah.
And we just turn on YouTube.
Hopefully,
Like,
yeah.
basically play Name That Tune with 80s metal songs. It's hysterical.
So when I'm coming up with stuff like
Wait, do you do
YNT,
that too?
Summertime Girls, and
I
Chris
didn't
has
know
no
about
idea
it.
what it is. It just like started like a week or two ago, and he tagged me on it, and it was like, you know, Cameron, you have to come. And then at the ALC clinic, he's like, yeah, you have to come to one of the Friday lunches, like maybe this Friday, come like this week or next week. And I'm like, what's this Friday lunch thing? Like, what are we doing? And he's like, it's amazing, but wouldn't say exactly what it is. And that's what they put these songs on, obviously, and they just kind of guess 80s tunes, and of course, it's all big on it.
As
He's
obscure
obsessed
as
with
you
it.
can possibly get. Because I'm picking ones that Chris is, I mean, Chris is younger than me, he's never heard of half the stuff that I listen to. So,
But he is obsessed with that music, that genre.
he's actually more obsessed with
Just because I have some
90s.
little-
That's me. I would crush that. But 80s, I'm
Well, we
like,
have people in our office that weren't even thought of in the 90s. And
yeah, it's interesting. Like if I talk to some of the lenders and attorneys and stuff, one of these lenders was talking about this man or played a song. He's like, "Don't you know who this is?" And I'm like, "Well, it's not Bell Biv DeVoe." And he's like, "The Who," and I'm like, "Who?" And he's like, "The Who."
as it
I'm
turns
like,
into
"What
a-
is that?"
a
So
skit.
you've got music knowledge, but only for your period of time.
And before, like my dad only listened to Oldies 103 when I was in high school, so I know everything about like Roy Orbison and all these other people.
But how'd you miss the Who?
I don't, because my dad was only letting me listen to Oldies 103.
That was it, yeah.
So it was like, oh, let me listen to, let's
So you're in the oldies, but not the classic rock.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so you skipped it like Led
Right.
Zeppelin.
And then when I would sleep over at my girlfriend's house, I'm like, oh my God, salt and pepper. Yes. But then like going to my dad's car, I'm like, man, it's only the lonelies again.
by myself.
Yeah, so different. That would be really fun though to host something like that. A
It's
lunch.
fun. I mean, it's getting ready for the weekend and you got a lot
Friday
going on.
lunch.
You got a lot going
Yes,
on the
this
weekend.
too.
Hi.
Grab your lunch,
Hey, Gail.
take an hour out of your business.
Somebody sent me a link.
Everybody needs a break once in
Should
a
I
while.
go in
Mm-hmm.
to it while
You
we're
got a
doing
link,
this?
you got a link to
It's for the-
set up your account? Yeah, you don't have to do it now, but yeah, at any point in time you can set up. your
Okay, so I don't have to be on the computer now.
account.
Perfect.
No, we started this class as a workshop, but it got too, everybody's technical skills are so
Yeah,
across the board that it became,
yeah.
some
Yes.
people are like, so where do I go? How do I get on the Google?
Oh, I know.
Oh my God, just to get on a Google is like a project.
Yeah.
We have to make a video about everything. This is how you turn your computer on.
Yeah.
This is how you sign in Google.
We do it, we use it on my team all the time. So watch my language. Get my best behavior. Okay. Sure.
All right, we'll start in 1 minute, so to be respectful of everybody who's here on time. We'll start on time, and anyone that comes in, Gene, if you hear somebody come in, we just, while he's doing his class, we just ask them to sign.
Gail, am I in your way?
They should.
Very badly. When I'm
No,
on the middle
no,
seat.
no.
I just have really bad eyes.
No, I can see perfect.
All right. Can you, am I in your way?
Plus, is that on the slide? Or is that is the slide.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm good.
Come up here.
Good.
Yeah, I'm liking.
You're great, Matt.
This is how we do it. Yeah.
Oh, wait, so your team leader is not Chris Grant?
It is Chris Grant.
It is Chris Grant?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to
Yeah. Chris Grant is our, yeah, and prior to Chris, it was Brad.
Brad,
Brad.
right. And there's only one, right? Marcus and Joey.
We have 360 agents
In Chris's office, in your office.
out of, well, we have hub and business center, so we
Oh.
have 4 business centers associated with it.
But your hub is Chris, and you're responsible for
We have one ATL in our Wallingford office. Sort of small, her name's Deborah. She's relatively new, started. No, she's an ATL. The idea would be that we break that up, that business center off into capable of standalone, great leadership, so that's part of growing.
Got it. All right, well, we're gonna get started. This is Matt. If some of you came to Brad's class on going from we to me, he discussed growing a team, and Matt actually happened to be a part of that and provided lunch that day. And so one of the goals, obviously, with our company is to track your business. You've seen Profit Dash come out as the app. We've been doing the CGI tool. You've been setting your goals, things like that. And so the other thing that maybe a lot of people haven't jumped on is the profit and loss. And what are you grossing and what are you netting? And so everyone thinks they have a productive business that makes money, but you really make money. And one of the things that as a team leader, when I talk to other agents outside of Keller Williams, their numbers look great on how many things they've sold, but when we really break down if they're netting, they really don't have a valuable business right there. So Matt's here today to talk about profit and loss and give you ideas on how to track that and talk about his product.
Yeah.
And so thank you for coming from Connecticut.
Thank you, Jamie.
And if you need anything, let me know.
No, we're good. We're
All
good.
right.
So, as Jamie said, I'm Matt Miali. That's my name. Just to give you guys a little preface about me, I am here to talk about profit and loss, but I am the farthest thing from an accountant or a bookkeeper that you could possibly imagine. I came to this place where I'm standing in front of rooms full of agents to talk about this through very painful experiences, because I am not wired to be a bookkeeper or an accountant. Like many of you, I run a real estate business. So every day I'm out listing properties, working with customers, working with buyers. My team, as of today, is 12 people. This past year was our first year we broke the $1 million GCI mark, which was a massive endeavor. And in order to get to that place, I had to do a whole lot of stuff that was really, really uncomfortable. And that process has inspired me to share some of the places where the most pain came out of it, because I know how difficult it is to run a real estate business and also be super really good at, crossing the T's and dotting the I's on every little detail, specifically the numbers. So I started in this business in 2008. I got licensed. I had, prior to getting into real estate, I was in the advertising business. And I got into real estate because it's such an easy way to make money, right? So easy. Like, I was like, oh my God, I'll just open doors. People are going to buy everything from me. Shortly thereafter, obviously, I learned that it's definitely a lot of work in order to build a big business. But I did commit. And around 2010, I really put my head down and decided that I was going to make a go of running a real estate business. And I wanted to make something that was some semblance of a career out of it. And by the end of 2011, I was the #1 agent in our market center in Greater Hartford. And at that time, we were a young market center, and I closed just over $12 million in production, pretty much as a solo agent with an assistant. So I was kind of riding high. I felt really good about myself, figuring that I'd been about a year in the business, and I had an assistant, and I was really following the models. I'd read MREA, and I just thought, like, I have got this. I am dialed in. And I knew I made a lot of money, but I didn't have any real clue how much. And I'll never forget, the end of the year came, and I was so looking forward to my 1099. I was so excited for that 1099 because it was the first time I was going to see how much money I made. But I really didn't know. I was clueless. I didn't have any sense. So when it came in the mail, I literally opened it like it was Christmas morning. The emotions were very real. I was like, oh my God. I'm totally awesome. I made a bunch of money. And I opened it, and it said $330,000 was what I had made. That was my 1099 that year. And I was like, boom! $250,000. Like, I am a rock star. I'm a rolling. I got nothing but blue skies ahead. Private boats, private jets. Like, I had visions of fancy, fancy life, right? And I couldn't wait to share with my wife how successful I was. Like, because it was, I wanted her to know too, because she didn't really, we're all married. Sometimes our wives or our husbands don't think of us the way other people do. So I was like, babe, I'm pretty cool, right? So I ran in and I was like, hey, look at this. I made $330,000. And like the look on her face was nothing like I expected. She was really mad. Like there was some genuine like anger there. And we actually wound up getting in a little bit of a tiff. Because her response was, where the hell's all the money? What are you talking about? You made $330,000. So her experience, of course, was, I know you work all the time. I know I never see you. I know that I'm home alone with the 2 kids that we had that are under 3 years old, putting them to bed by myself, because you're out on listing appointments after 9 o'clock. I know you work all weekend. I know you're hustling, but I don't see any of that money. Where is it? And it was in that moment that I had this epiphany. Oh my God. You can be really, really productive in real estate. You can get the medals. You can get the plaques. You can be on the ALC. Everybody can look up to you and respect you. You can even stand in front of a room and teach classes. And you can be totally broke. And that was my story. And that was my reality. Now, most of the time, we have a hard time dealing with that reality, because if you're wired like me, you're optimistic, you're forward-thinking, you're entrepreneurial. So for you, you're like, I'm one deal away from crossing the border. I've got those 3 new listings that are in the pipeline. I've got this coming down the line. I know I'd get out of it once I get to that. That was how I lived my life for the better part of 2 or 3 years, and it was painful. And in that moment in 2011, I decided I wasn't going to do that anymore. That I figured this isn't worth it. It's not worth getting in a fight with my wife. It's not worth working 7 days a week. It's not worth it. But I knew I had something, so there had to be some way to figure it out. But I did not want to share my financials with anybody. Because people said to me, hey, if you're just not making money, you should just hire a bookkeeper. But see, that was embarrassing, because that meant like I had to expose people to the $12,000 maxed out credit card and the other credit card, and I had missed a car payment. I had to expose people to that, and it, as a high I personality, like how people think of me mattered. So it was a really tough scenario. But nonetheless, I resolved myself to fix it. And I dove into this world of financial management. And for the first time I did it, I had about 8-minute attention span. I couldn't get past 8 minutes of like looking at a checkbook, like, okay, as soon as the phone rang, boom, I was out the door trying to sell something else. But 2-3 years later, I had gotten my head around it. And I had really unraveled the bag of snakes that made up what was a mess of a business. And I had a profitable business. It was 2014, and it took me a really long time to dig through it, because I had created a bunch of bad behaviors, and I had to unwind it and follow budgets and models. And look, here's the reality. If you guys are like me, you're running a business, you're living off the income that you create. You can't just flip a switch and change it. It takes time. So 3 years later, I was sitting at the ALC clinic with my business partner at RE Profit, Matt Urban, who is also the operating principal who runs our Greater Hartford Market Center. And we were there with our entire ALC. It was 11 other people that were on our ALC. These were the other top producers in our industry, in our market center. I mean, these were all agents that were making north of $200,000 a year. And in a moment of vulnerability, for the first time, I shared with our group, because profitability was part of the conversation. I shared with that group the struggles that I had had. Because you have to remember that nobody knew I was going through this, because I was still a top producer. I was listing houses, selling houses. Nobody had any idea that on the home front and behind the scenes, my business was not a business worth owning. I was struggling. But I got to the point where I was confident enough, I had solved it enough, that I shared with the group. And one by one around the table, 11 other top producers in our market center shared stories that mirrored my own, almost identical. Somebody was literally sitting at the table in the midst of a foreclosure. And I realized then, and this is when I elbowed Matt in the ribs, and I said, this is unacceptable. Like, I thought I was the anomaly. But to realize that this is a part of our business. Basically, we make a lot of money, but most of us go broke somewhere along the line. just a show of hands if you're willing to be vulnerable. Anybody in the room who's been in the business more than 10 years that ever's run out of money? Like, what? That's crazy, right? How does that happen? So this became a passion project for me. I mean, I just really wanted to share my own story and get to the point where I could, forgive me while we re-engage our tech here, guys. I wanted to share my story and share with you guys how I got to the point where I saw the value in running my business by the numbers, okay? So what are we gonna get through today? So 2 or 3 hours worth of math, okay? So you guys brought your calculators? No, I'm just kidding. We're doing no math today, I promise, okay? Today, the point of today, profit and loss 101. My goal today is for each of you to leave here feeling empowered by the fact that you need to be running your business on a P&L and understanding why you need to do it and what it's going to do for you. So just show of hands, how many of you in here currently use a profit and loss statement to run your business? Okay, 2. All right. How many of you think you should be using a profit and loss statement to run your business? All right, so we're starting off on good ground here. That is good, that is good. Quick question for you. First thing I like to ask, everybody in the room a realtor, or are there any staff people, admins, anybody in here that's not a real estate agent? Okay, so everybody's a realtor. Okay, so quick show of hands, how many of you guys are homeowners? Keep your hands up if you're a homeowner. All right, so if I were to ask you, keep your hands up, if I were to ask each of you to give me a quick sort of back of the napkin evaluation of the value of your own home, how many of you could do it within about 60 seconds? Give me a rough idea of what you could sell your house for. Okay, keep your hands up. If you're also a business owner, put your hand in the air. Okay, same question, 60 seconds. What's the value of your business? Keep your hands up if you can tell me. Anybody? Couple that feel pretty confident? But I saw wavering, like maybe like you wouldn't necessarily put it on the market at that price. Be some expectation setting, right?
I've got an Excel spreadsheet.
There you go, awesome. So that's a good start. I mean, it doesn't really matter what system or tool you use as long as you're doing it. So one of the things that I asked somebody, which became really poignant to me, is I asked, what would you buy your own business for? If somebody could come and take your business away, the thing that affords you your livelihood, what would the amount of the check be that you would write to get it back? And candidly, if you're a business owner, that's a number you should know. What if somebody took your license away and said you are no longer allowed to practice real estate unless you buy your license back? What would you pay for it? See, if you don't know that number, what we really have are a bunch of hobbyists. So what we are, and some of us are good at that, we can be good hobbyists, but it's not really a business. Would the CEO of any company that you'd invest in not be able to tell you what the valuation of their company was, or what the value of their stock was, or what their quarterly profits were? No, they wouldn't. They would know that number, or we wouldn't invest in it, right? We would never give money to somebody that would not treat our money with that kind of attention to detail. Yet we run our businesses that way. So what I want to do today is help you guys understand how to get over the leap of feeling like it's an insurmountable task to run your business on a P&L and start to understand how easy and effective it is, okay? Anybody anything that anybody came here specifically to learn that you want to share with the group? No? Anybody have anything that they want to make sure I cover?
How to track your expenses.
It's a good one. I will cover that. Yeah?
I guess the biggest one would be security, since we're putting all our statements out there.
Yep. Security, if you're using an online platform or something like that. Okay, good.
Does this hook up to your bank accounts?
It does. Yeah. So, what is a P&L? What is that? Cockpit, right? So, this is what a P&L is. You're the pilot of your business, and the profit and loss statement are all the bells and whistles, the switches and gadgets and things that you need in order to fly the plane. That's what a P&L is. It's the dashboard for how to run your business. Unfortunately, all too many of us think of our P&L as a tax thing. Well, my accountant says I need a P&L. That's not what it is. It's the dashboard for your business. See, unfortunately, most of us run our business like this. This is what we use in order to run our business. Because if I asked any of you, what's your volume sold? How many of you know what your volume sold is last year? Right? Right? We know volume sold, right? And then if I said, how about GCI? Some of you would be like, oh, I know what my GCI was. I said, well, what's your profit? We get a little dicey. Like people are like, well, you know, the top numbers are good, but. So this is like, what's that?
Who's asking?
Yeah, who's asking, right? This is your GCI, the stick is your is your volume, and the button is your GCI. It's like, hammer down, push the button as hard as you can, like the old video games. For extra points, can anybody tell me what system this joystick is from?
Atari.
Which one? Come on, where's my nerds?
2600.
Yes! 2600, that's what I was looking for.
So revealing.
I know. That was my generation. Atari 2600 was awesome. First, you know, I spent many hours as a kid playing on that joystick. That's how I learned how to run a business. So here's the thing, guys. We have to start with clarity, okay? Unfortunately for most of us, the primary reason, and I hear this, and I've been teaching this class now for 6+ months, the primary reason I hear people say that they're not ready to get into a P&L is that they have something to fix first. Some part of their business that's a mess. That's the problem, is you'll never fix it until you start with what the problem is. You have to start with clarity. And that clarity is the thing that made me want to throw up back in 2011 when I first looked at my financials. Because it told me, number one, I was broke. Number two, I was outliving the income that I was producing. And number three, I had a whole lot of really difficult decisions to make in order to get my business to a point where it was actually running like a business. So it told me that story. But you know what? As soon as it told me the story, I could start making decisions to impact the things that were broken. In addition to that, we have to have clarity not just in our business, but also personally. Because of the way that our business operates, most of us, I mean, how many of you guys use the money that you make to live on? Right? It's actually part of your equation. It's part of what you live on, right? So if we don't, some of us don't know how much it costs to live. We don't, that's the clarity you have to start with. See, we go out and we just earn. We earn as much as we possibly can. But we don't actually know what our goal is, what our target is. Start with clarity. Figure out, number one, how much does it cost you to live? How much money do you need to pull out of your business to actually live, to do the things that you like to do? That's your baseline. If your business doesn't produce that number, you have to lower the number. You can't out-earn your financial ignorance. You will never be able to just spend more and then magically create an outcome that makes you make more. It starts with, what does it cost me to live? And then make sure that that number can be covered by the amount of money that you bring in through your business. That's your first step. Second step is, how much does it cost you to run your business? Now, for some of us, some people are amazing with expenses. I happen to be a spendy guy. I spend everything. I'm like, I can't, you put 20 bucks in my pocket, it'll be gone before I'm out of the room. I don't know how, but I'll buy something from somebody, right? So it's just the way I operate. So I spend a ton of money. It's just the way I roll. Other people are really good about managing their expenses, but you need to know which one you are. That's the clarity. Do you spend a lot of money? Are you more thrifty? Do you evaluate your opportunities? Which one, where do you fall? But you need to know what that number is. That's the clarity that you start with, okay? So Gary, how many of you guys go to family reunion this year? I heard some people talk about it. Awesome. Last year, Gary did, on his Saturday vision speech, he did the top 10 mistakes that agents make. And for me, it was just awesome because he spent about 40 minutes talking about how agents don't manage their money. And this being a personal passion of mine and a project that I've been working on, it really hit home. And so he highlighted the 4 primary spots where we make mistakes. One is that we don't use a profit and loss to run our business. The second, we don't play red light, green light with the money that we spend. We sort of go with our gut. That's not a business strategy. That's just guessing. The last is we use our bank accounts as a personal ATM. or not the last, the third. And then the last thing that he pointed out is that we don't operate with a business first, lifestyle second strategy. We tend to flip it. We make our money to support our lifestyle rather than making our money to support our business, which then supports our lifestyle. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each of these, and I'm going to talk about them, and I'm going to help you guys understand how to do them. Okay? Any questions about any of that? No? We good? So the P&L, I talked a little bit about this early on when we looked at the airplane cockpit. The profit and loss statement is the dashboard of your business. So I want you guys to imagine driving a car, okay? And if you could drive your car with no windshield and no instruments other than a speedometer, how effective would you be at driving that car? Not very effective, right? You'd have a speedometer and a gas pedal. That's pretty much like what most of us use to run our business, right? And some of us like literally drive nails through our foot as like straight down to the ground and go as fast as we can and if we go off the road, we just plow through the bushes and hope that we find the road again at some point. But that's not the way to do it. We need the dashboard. We need all those dials and switches. And some of them, how often do you look at your oil gauge when you're driving? Not often. Not often, right? How often do you look at your tires? Not that often. But you do look at it once every 3 months or so. You've got to pay attention to it. Otherwise, the car engine will seize up, the tires will blow out, and you'll have a catastrophe. Your business is no different. All those things matter. How much money are you spending in particular things? How much are your salaries? Where is your best return on investment when it comes to lead gen expenses? All those things make a difference, but you've got to have some place to look at it. And if it's just a matter of, let me go through my 10,000 emails and find that one email that's going to give me that piece of information and then match it up against something else, it's an ineffective way to do it. And frankly, do any of us do that? No. We might intend to, but it's not going to happen. Not with the pace that we run a real estate business. So your P&L, that dashboard, I can't stress enough how important it is to have that. It tells you the vital signs and the health of your business. This is one of the other things that's critical to understand is that a P&L is not just about where you're making mistakes. It's about where your opportunities are. The biggest, most successful agents are looking at their P&L daily because they're not looking for where they're screwing up. They're looking for where they're missing opportunity because they might be underspending somewhere or overspending somewhere and saying, geez, if I shifted some of this money over to here, I could get results. See, leverage is the key to running a successful business, right? We know that, the 3 L's, leads, listings, and leverage. Leverage comes in one of 3 forms. It's a system, it's a tool, or a person. That's how you create leverage in your business. Now, you might be able to buy a tool or a system or hire a person to help solve some other problem in your business if you're paying attention to your P&L and you know where you have opportunities. So some of us underspend places and we just don't even know we're underspending. And the idea of underspending, I know is like, what? How could you ever underspend? Trust me, you can underspend, right? Could you underspend on gas in your car? What if you only ever put $5 of gas in your car all the time? Like how you'd be stopping for gas. Is that efficient? It's not efficient. So that's the other part of the P&L that's critical. Gives you your opportunities to improve, and it lays out what your dangerous conditions are. So I'm going to play a little video. This is not just a picture of Gary. This is actually a video. I'm going to play a little video. This is him last year at family reunion talking about the profit and loss statement. Now it's about
Mistake number 7.
2 minutes long.
So here's the challenge. There's 4 big challenges. Number 1 is you don't use a P&L to make decisions.
Let me just see. Is that loud enough, guys?
You want to use your P&L.
Is that loud enough?
No.
It's not just for taxes, right? The reason is we want to use the P&L and look at how our money got.
Hang on, let me see if I can find the volume here.
Right at the bottom.
Mistake number 7, don't manage their money. So here's the challenge. There's 4 big challenges. Number 1 is you don't use a P&L to make decisions. You want to use your P&L to make decisions, not just for taxes, right? The reason is we want to use the P&L and look at how our money got spent and how successful the spending was. Another way to look at that is just look at our budget model real quick. And if you can see these percentages, I want you to know this is based on our research, and there's 2 different colors here. One is the averages and one is best practice. Either one is good. I want you to notice something. And this is why P&Ls are so important, okay? Because it allows us to dig deep and tell you, look at averaging. When you do all the research for accurate P&Ls, you begin to realize that doing $1 million GCI is a step backwards. Shocking. Why is it backwards? Why do you go backwards?
Well, at that point, you're bringing on leverage. You're losing like more cost of sale and showing up in your business. You're not doing a lot of business. You're having to pay someone else to do it.
So at $1 million, what happens at $1 million GCI is you're already in that phase of hiring to the next level. You're going right through is what's happening. Now you're making more money at $1 million GCI than you did at 700,000, but it's not an amazing amount more. It's not. However, if it's best practices, actually it is a lot more. So it can go up to 39%.
It's right about the time where we see a lot of people start to step out of the listing business. So even more of their margin is going that, that jump between $1 million and GCI to 1.7. So that's we started calling it the messy middle.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. In other words, let's don't get too caught up in the almighty net. Because if in fact you wanted to trade some of your dollars for some freedom, that's why you built the business to begin with.
Right. And that's the only way you get to the other end, where you're netting $1 million.
Nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. Right? So again, it gives you insight. So look at the insight we're able to give you because of agents who actually have P&Ls and use them to make decisions. Notice that 75% of your expenses go to cost of sales and salaries. It's your biggest expense. It's your biggest expense. And yet most agents are ignorant about how to do it correctly. They haven't mastered it. They haven't. Okay? Crazy, isn't it?
So I have a quick question for everybody in the room. So that, honesty, we're all gonna be honest. So that was about a 2-minute video. How many of you guys tuned out like halfway through? Nobody? Everybody was in it?
No, I do.
How many of you tuned out about halfway through?
A little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
So Gary Keller, the founder of the largest real estate company in the country, is talking about one of the most important parts of running our business, and yet it's hard to pay attention, right?
I couldn't see the screen, and there was a whole lot of context.
Okay. So the challenge that we have is this is my only point, is that this is not our wheelhouse, guys, okay? Talking about cost to sale, all these different things, this is definitely gonna be outside of the comfort zone of what we're typically gonna wanna pay attention to. Yet, to his last point, cost of sale and salaries are our biggest expense, and most of us don't even know what they are. So, quick show of hands, how many of you know what cost of sale is confidently enough that you can come up here and teach the rest of the class about it?
I'd say yes, but I don't want to get up there.
You don't have to.
I'm
I
not
promise
getting up
I promise I will not make anybody come up and say it, but I'm just curious if you feel that confident about it. So I'm going to tell you what cost of sale is and why it's so important. Cost of sale, what Gary Keller's talking about, is the amount of money that gets produced through your business that never winds up in your bank account. So when we close a transaction, this is again another number that we have to keep our eyes on. When we close a transaction, how many of you can calculate your commission off of the sale? Simple. Price of the house times percentage of commission, right? Boom, that's my GCI.
Minus 36%.
Minus 36% or 30%, or you're capped. And then you get to the next level where you start having people on your team and they start taking some money out of that commission. And all of that money that doesn't show up in the check that you get is cost of sale. He talks about how at $1 million in GCI, and I just lived this, you make less money than you did at 700,000. That's true. That I lived it this year. That happens. You got to ask yourself, how does that happen? How does that happen? It happens because you buy back your time by giving more of the business to other people. So you generate more time because they're doing the transactions, but you're paying them, even though you're not writing the check. They're getting paid by a split called cost of sale. And if you're not tracking it today and you wait until too long, if you build a big team and you have cost of sale, you can crucify your business by giving away too much of the money before you get to the place where it actually matters. So cost of sale is one of those things that you need to be tracking. The only way you're going to track it is through a P&L.
Can you just
Two questions. Yep, fire away.
Can you say that again? Tell
Sure.
me what cost of sale was again.
Okay, so here's how it works.
So you mean like when you have a commission, right? You
What's the
have-
average? What's the average sale price around here?
It's like $379. Do a $10,000 commission. To
Okay.
make it, keep it simple.
Okay, $10,000 in gross commission income.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now, if you're capped, you get all of it,
right.
right? If you're not capped, what's 36% of that? 3,600, right?
Yeah.
So that means you're going to keep 6,400. This is the check that you would get. So the difference, 3,600, is your cost of sale. Okay? Because this is the check that shows up in your bank account. The money though, but your business generated $10,000 in GCI. This is your business top line revenue.
All right, so when you talk about cost of sale, you're not talking about if it were a listing, how much it costs to advertise
Nope.
it, how much you pay for your support staff or anything
right.
else like that. You're just talking about.
That's right, because those are
Blah, blah.
operating expenses. Because you
Okay.
spend that money whether you sell the house or not.
Okay.
A cost of sale is a cost that is incurred only when you have the sale.
Okay.
You have a sale, you have a cost. So now where this gets more interesting is, let's say that this $10,000 commission was generated by a buyer's agent that works on your team, and you have a 50-50 split with that buyer's agent.
Yeah.
So that buyer's agent gets $5,000 of that commission, and your team gets $5,000 of that commission. This is also cost of sale. So you're split 50-50. Now, if you're not capped, you're also 36% of this, which, what is that number? Somebody do that math for me real quick. 3,200. So you generated $10,000 in GCI through your business, and you got $3,200 as a check. So between here and here is cost of sale. See how important that is?
Yep.
So you can run a highly productive business and give away a whole lot of money before you even get a check. It's one of the most important numbers for us to track, and yet most of us don't do it.
So, and.
Hold on, right back here first.
sorry.
Yeah.
So, pretty much, I'm basing these numbers off a team, to be honest, if you're working independently.
We all have a cost of sale. If anybody gets, so think of yourself as a business owner, right? You're a business owner, you go out, you generate a listing agreement or a buyer contract, and you have a closing, and that closing generates GCI. Think of it like this, that GCI is all yours. That's your GCI. You choose to be in business with Keller Williams Realty because of the training, education, and the good financial and economic relationship that you have, but you could take that GCI to another company if you wanted, or you could be a broker and take that GCI yourself. You could do that. That's the business decision that you have to make. But we make a business decision based on the numbers and the economics. Now, if you do grow your business into a team, then you're going to have additional cost of sale. Does that make sense?
Yeah, what I'm asking too is like, Gary Keller was talking about, if you're at $1 million GCI,
Yeah.
you're making less than 700,000. Is that that's based off of the team?
So what he's talking about is your net. So he said 39%. So he's saying that your net from $1 million in GCI compared to 700,000 in GCI, you'll actually net less money in that business. That's right, because that $300,000 in between is going to wind up being cost of sale for a highly productive listing specialist or a team of listing specialists. In order to get to $1 million in GCI, and Jay Papasan talked about, that's the messy middle.
So it just puts you in a different bracket? Is that what you're saying?
It just creates expenses that are different in order to run a business at that level. Now again, this is all he talked about. This is all best practices. This doesn't necessarily mean it has to be you. If you have a $1 million average sale price, you can probably handle, 10, 15 sales on your own, maybe even 25 or 30. At that point, you're going to get to $1 million in GCI different than somebody that's got a $200,000 cost of sale. But the point is, what I'm getting back to is, if you're not running your business on a P&L and tracking the numbers, you won't have the information you need to make the business decision. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. How do I turn that part off where it keeps shutting off? Let's see.
The time is too short.
Either that or I'm too long-winded. It could be either one.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure. Oh, yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to.
So, your admin or your transaction coordinator, that's a cost of sale, even though you're not bringing in, let's say you don't have a commission, you have to pay them no matter what.
That is not cost of sale.
I thought so.
That is operating expense.
Okay.
Just understand it like this, guys. If you have an expense that is part of running your business, whether you sell or not, that is an operating
Okay,
expense.
that's what.
If you have an expense that only shows up when you make a sale, so now there's very little gray area on this. However, there are a couple of things that jump in. One is transaction coordinator. Sometimes people pay transaction coordinators out of the closing,
Oh, yeah, that's
and they don't have to pay them unless they close.
Yes.
Okay? That can go either way for your business. Okay? That's a business decision. You decide. Transaction coordinator that only gets paid out of the closing could be a cost of sale. Okay? One of the other ones that comes up all the time are closing gifts.
Yeah.
People say, well, I don't actually give them a closing gift unless I close on the deal. That's up to you. I personally think that's an operating expense, even though it's spurred on by the closing. And the reason I do it that way is just for simplicity of math and understanding, is that I treat that like a marketing expense. And even though year over year that number might change depending on what the closing volume is and the closing numbers, to me it's an advertising expense. And I don't want to lump it in with cost of sale, because I think it's treated differently. Make sense?
Yeah.
So you're
Cool.
suggesting that this cost of sale, I don't even know how, and I'm probably speaking a little uneducatedly, could be
No.
a deductible expense?
No, your cost of sale, so that's a great question, and it takes me a little bit on a bunny trail, but one of the most challenging things about our business in real estate is that no other small business has the dynamic that we have, with a 1099 income and all of the expenses and the capacity to build a business as big as we do, okay? So accountants and bookkeepers don't want to hear about cost of sale. In fact, it was the biggest challenge I had when I set myself out to solve this issue for me and my business. Every bookkeeper I talked to, every accountant I talked to, basically was like, don't worry about that, it's not taxable. Because again, they're not running a business, they're filing taxes. They're very different. You're the business owner, you need to account for it. So it is a deductible expense if you file your taxes based on the idea that this is your total income. But your 1099 is not going to match up with your GCI.
Right.
Your 1099 is going to match up with your after cost of sale number. So you can have that conversation with your accountant. It's a pretty sophisticated conversation, and it depends on how they think you're going to get the best benefit from it. So the answer is it could be a tax deductible expense, but it's not money that ever shows up in a 1099. So you have to somehow, you'd have to somehow show the IRS where that money went. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This may be squirrely, but.
That's okay. I can handle squirrely.
So when you say what's your cost of sale, so do you mean like what is your average cost of sale, meaning that you have to track your cost of sale for every transaction that you do if you have a team, and then you take those costs and sales and average them out at the end of the year, and that is your cost of sale?
Yeah, so you're going to have cost of sale associated with each individual transaction.
Yeah.
You're going to have a monthly cost of sale. You're going to have an annual cost of sale, a
Monthly
quarterly
cost.
cost of sale. It's all going to be based on how much of that money that you earned on the top line that wound up not showing up in your bank account. So, and what you're tracking toward is best practices, the budget model that MREA provides us. What you're tracking toward is, we know that your cost of sale in a productive, profitable business should be around 40%.
Okay.
Excuse me, 30%. You want it to be around 30%. So 30%, if you're over 30% on your cost of sale, you're over it. Now, Gary points out, and I applaud this. He says, don't get caught up in the almighty net. the classic question, would you rather be a 5% owner of $1 billion company or a 1% owner or a 10% owner of $1 million company? Like, don't get caught up in 10% of $1 million I'd rather have 5% of $1 billion company than 10% of $1 million company. It's a lot more money. If you're running a successful business, you can make the decision based on what the numbers pan out. So the goal is 30% cost of sale. Okay, which, by the way, does that line up with what the splits are with KW? Yeah. Sure does. Sure does. So, all right, so moving on. Playing red light, green light. This was the second thing that he points out, okay? He says, look, you got to run your business on a P&L, but the other thing you've got to do is you've got to hold your money accountable for results. So this goes back to, are we a hobbyist or are we a business person, right? We tend to spend money. I know my philosophy was if the salesperson got me live on the phone, I liked their pitch, and they seemed nice enough, I would buy it.
Yeah.
Like that was pretty much, oh my God, oh yeah, I'd ask them questions, I'd get in a conversation with them, and if it was, I'd be like, that sounds amazing. Like I'm an easy sell, I'm a classic sales guy. Salespeople are usually easy to sell, right? So I would buy stuff based on nothing, just based on what the guy sounded like on the phone or the girl. That's like not a good business decision. So what Gary Keller's saying, and what we should be doing, and what real businesses do, with real business practices, we play red light, green light. All red light, green light is, it's simple. It's the idea that there's a target, which is your budget. There's the money that you're going to spend to stay at your budget. And you're going to hold the money accountable to a return, to a result. And if it's not creating the result, it's a red light, you stop. If it's creating the result, it's a green light, you go. The other thing that red light, green light does, and this is where it creates the opportunities. Think of red light, green light like I talked about earlier. In your business, sometimes you might be underspending. Now the two places where people will underspend in our businesses are on our leverage primarily, lead generation or salaries. We are often underspending on salaries in places where we should be getting leverage to help us in our business. So if you're producing, I'll give you an example, if you're producing at $15 million in production and you don't have a full-time admin, you're probably capping your growth potential. You may be saying, I can do 15 million on my own and I don't need an admin. And you're probably right. And you'll probably continue to do 15 million. But at some point, the profit that you generate from that $15 million business gets reinvested into creating leverage to boost you from 15 to 25 or 30. That's the idea. Now you can make a decision to stop anywhere along the way. You can say 15 million is good. I'm happy at this production level. I'm happy with the profit I make, and I'm happy with the business I have. That's the business decision. But what we often do is we make the decision without analyzing whether or not there's another opportunity. Because if you sat down and you looked at a P&L and you realized, wow, if I reinvested into leverage and put somebody in a position to take this admin work off my plate, and then I could go out and recreate more opportunity and more business, my profit would go up significantly, which would mean that I'd be able to take more vacations, or I'd be able to spend more time with my family, or I'd be able to do some other things that I want to do, or maybe buy the new car that I want. But the point is that when you have control over the decision, it's your decision, as opposed to, I just don't feel comfortable hiring somebody, which is, I've had that conversation coaching with people for years. You know, they're at a point where it's like, look, you should put somebody in place here. Say, I'm not comfortable, I can handle it myself. You may be able to, but you could also create a better life for yourself. So, yes?
And how do those decisions affect, when you go back to the question of your business valuation?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have systems in play? I mean, what do people buy? Your clients? What is your business that you can sell? What is?
So there's a multi-part question that you asked, even though it was pretty straightforward. Because you're talking about whether it's the core value of your value proposition to your clients, what is the value of that, versus what's the actual value economically of the business that you generate. So now there's not a whole lot of evidence historically in regard to real estate people selling businesses to each other, right? So if I were to buy your business, There's not like an appraisal system, right, where I could, now typically, most small businesses will sell for 2 to 3 times earnings, right? So if your business generates a certain amount of money every year, profit, you can sell it for 2 to 3 times what that is. That's a reasonable expectation for what a valuation is. Here's a great example. Anybody in here know what it costs to open a Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah, over 5, isn't it?
It's about $500,000. Yeah, if you want to buy the franchise, open one up, you're going to spend about $500,000. Anybody know what a typical Dunkin' Donuts, I'm not talking about a super typical Dunkin' Donuts average profit is annually? 60 grand.
No way.
Yeah. So think of this. What does it cost to be a realtor? $2,000 maybe? Class, licensing?
No.
More?
Yeah. Let's just get your license.
No. What does it cost to get in the door? Dunkin' Donuts to open it is $500,000. What does it cost to get in the door as a licensed agent?
I would say around 2.
About $2 grand, right? Can you make more than $60,000 as a realtor?
Yes.
Can you make $500,000 as a realtor?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Do you know how hard it is to get that Dunkin' Donuts franchise, to go through the economic analysis, the financial scrutiny that they put you through in order to be a franchise owner? Yet, as a realtor, I mean, it's the 100-level college course in the door, and we take the test, and then, we're handing out business cards. We are so blessed to have that opportunity. And if we can treat that opportunity the way that a Dunkin' Donuts franchise owner has to treat his business, the upside is unlimited. Unlimited. So I don't know if I answered your question appropriately.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, okay. So there's a couple, business valuation, what's it worth, is, I think we're probably on the precipice of really, truly seeing what real estate businesses are worth, because I think we're in the infancy of real estate agents truly treating their businesses like businesses, meaning the last 15 to 20 years, really since Keller Williams came on the scene.
I
Okay?
have one question. So you had talked about 2 definitions, cost of sale, you gave us that one, and what was the second definition that you were going to speak about?
Did I say operating expenses?
Operating expenses.
Oh, you did, okay, thank you.
Yep. Sorry, this sucker keeps shutting off on me. So, I'm going to get into that, into what operating expenses are.
Okay.
So playing red light, green light, everybody understand what the concept is, right? What opportunities are you missing, and where are you getting your return on investment? So let's listen to Gary just reiterate that.
All right, number 2, play red light, green light. Stick to the budget. So what does red light, green light look like? Well, red light is I'm not spending any more money until I'm getting the best results possible for the money that I've already spent. Red light, I'm not spending any more. I've spent enough. It better produce results. I'm not going to throw more money at it. Green light says now that I maximize the potential of the money that I've already spent, I'm going to put a little more out there and spend that. It's just red light, green light. It's a simple philosophy, okay?
Any questions about that, guys, before I move on? No? Okay. All right, so the third point that he made, and I'm going to get a little technical here, okay? A little more technical than I've been so far, but I think you guys will take a lot out of this. Agents he says, we treat our business like a personal ATM. Now, why that's a problem, it's a problem on a lot of levels. But the first one is, how many of you in this room currently have a separate business account just to run your business? That's the best result I've gotten. Sincerely, that is fantastic. When you commingle, I know the way I used to do the math, it was like I got a $10,000 commission, into the personal account it went, out came the mortgage, out came the car payment, here went the credit card bill, and there was this, and there was that, and basically wherever the money was is what I would spend it on. That's a terrible way to run a business, and it's very demoralizing to employees, because they basically don't understand, you're not running it in a way that's got forward growth attached to it financially. So the way that you should be operating your business, and this is kind of how I laid it out here. And I'm going to start with, if anybody's in the room that does not have a business banking account, that's step 1. Don't get hung up on the idea that a business banking account has to actually be a business account at the bank. This is a place where we get stuck. You go into the bank and you say, I need to open a business account. And they say, great, we need your LLC operating docs, we need your federal EIN number, and then we go, maybe I don't need it. I'll just keep doing it the old way. It doesn't have to be a business account. It can be a personal account that you use strictly for business, okay? But your commission checks should always go into a business account first. So this is your business account, okay? You should, if you're doing this the right way, have also a personal account. Now here's the key, guys. If you don't know what it costs, and I started with this in the beginning of this class, if you don't know what your personal expenses are, this is the first exercise you need to go through. What does it cost you to run your life every day? Because that creates the goal that this needs to generate. You'll never not have business expenses. So if it costs you $5,000 a month to run your personal life, to pay all your bills, your business will need to generate more than that, because your business is going to have expenses too. So you start with, what's the number that it costs me personally to run my life, okay? Then you have business numbers, and you figure out what that is. Now your deposit every month into the business account needs to be the equivalent of what it costs to run your business and what it costs to run your personal life. Now there's a number missing. Who wants to take a guess? Taxes. Who said it? Star student. Star student. Taxes! We forgot about the taxes. How many of you have worked from January 1st through April 15th just to pay the tax bill from the prior year? I know I have. Remember that story I told you about how excited I was when I got the 1099? Oh, I forgot I had taxes to pay. That was painful.
Yep.
So I ran a race just to not be in a hole. And it took me until October, because guess what? I extended because I didn't have the money yet. I had to extend till October to file for 2011 just so I could get out of the rat race of chasing the tax bill. So this is your third account, your tax reserve. Okay? These are the bank accounts that you should have. You should have 3 of them, minimum. Now, when your business account accumulates enough money to cover 3 months worth of expenses in your business and your personal account, you should open another account. And that's going to be your capital account. And think of that like, that's the feeder capital account. Your capital account is where all your money is going to go in, and once a month, you're going to make a transfer from your capital account for the amount of money that it costs to run your business, your personal life, and your tax reserves. You make one transfer per month. This then becomes an account that just starts to accumulate money. Okay? What's that?
You lost me.
I lost you. All right, ready? I'm going to use real numbers. Let's say it costs you $5,000 to run your business every month. Okay? Here's your personal account. And it costs you $5,000 to live your life, pay all your bills. And you know that 30% of everything that you make needs to go into a tax account. Okay? So you need $10,000 every month in order to operate, in order for the lights to stay on in your house and your business. Okay? This is your capital account. Now, if you make $20,000 in a month, what do we normally do? What do most of us do? We make 20 grand, we book a vacation. Right? Like, you know, or we put a patio in, or build a deck, or buy a new car or something, right? Yes, I made 20 grand. Like, that's how a lot of us operate. Because we feel rich when we have the money. We feel broke when we don't. Right? But we never expect to get broke when we have the money. We always expect it to stay that way. This is going to help you prevent that ebb and flow and create consistency. You make 20K, into the capital account it goes. But here's the deal, 5 and 5, so you make a $10,000 deposit. Once, 10K. Make sense? So you do that on the first of every month. Now the next month you make $12K, you put that in there. You make a $10,000 deposit. Transfer. The next month you make 8, you make a $10,000 deposit. The next month you make 17, you make a $10,000 deposit. So what happens when one month you make a $10,000 deposit and the money runs out? You have to go back to the capital account. But what's it forcing you to do, what it's forcing you to do is to tap on the brakes and look at, what did I do here that outspent my 10,000? What did I do? Guys, it's all your money, okay? It's all yours. You can do whatever you want with it. The point is that if you have a system like this, it makes you think, and it's not hard. It's just a system. This thing is going to just accumulate money, and maybe you make a deal with yourself. Once there's 50K in here, right? I'm taking half of it out. That's a draw. I'm going to give myself a $25,000 bonus. But you're making the decision, and then every month, whatever you put in, you take 30% and you put it in your tax reserve account. So you're making one deposit, 2 transfers each month. Transfer here, transfer here. And as long as you know what this number is and know what this number is, your business should effectively go on autopilot financially. And then the money's going to accumulate here. See, what this prevents, and I know, like I said earlier, I know this is sometimes hard when you're already in the situation where the money's kind of bouncing around. But what it prevents is it prevents the robbing from Peter to pay Paul. You set the system up, and then you stick to the system. And if the 10K that your business can generate is not covering these things, that's where we reduce expenses. See, we tend to think the opposite because we're optimistic. We're wired that way. So we tend to think, well, I didn't make enough money last month. I need to make more money. I need to get productive. I need to get after it. I need to lead gen more. Sometimes you can't control that, but you can control your expenses immediately. So making sure that you know what these numbers are is where it starts.
I thought you said that the capital reserve funds your taxes, but your model shows that it comes from your business.
It can go either way. Yeah, it is the accurate way to do it is take 30% of whatever goes in every month and put it into your tax reserve. Now the greatest thing that I've been able to experience the past couple of years is that when I follow this model, at the end of every year I get a bonus. Because my taxes are usually not at 30% based on the volume of deductions that I have and the business investments. And I don't keep all my profit, I reinvest my profit. So each year when I evaluate what the profit was for my business, I make a decision. How much of that is Matt going to keep? And how much of that is Matt going to double down on his business with? That's how you grow a business. Profit is also the fuel for future growth. Okay? Did I lose you guys on this?
Initially you said put it in your business account, so now are you saying put it in your capital account, then from your capital account go to your business, go to your personal?
Yeah, here's the deal. Depending on what your comfort level is, start with a business account.
Yeah.
That's step one.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you don't have a business account, your first job is go get a business account. Okay? Don't overthink it. Walk in, open an account.
Yeah.
End of story. Your second job is build up 3 months worth of reserves in your business account. When you have 3 months worth of reserves in your business account, that becomes the new zero. Okay? Then you open a capital account. And then from there on, your capital account funds your business account, but only to the extent that it's going to cover your monthly expenses.
Do you open another account for taxes, or do you keep them with?
Separate account for taxes. And in fact, if you can, put that account somewhere that you can't access it easily. I'm just saying, I mean, it's going to be a big pile of money sitting in there, guys.
It's not your money.
It's not your money, and it's going to be a big pile of money sitting in there, and you're going to want it, and you're going to make you're going to rationalize a decision. I'm just going to use it right now, but I'll put it back from the next closing.
Yeah.
I'm just going to use it right now because I need it this moment, but I'll use it, but that's just not how it always operates. So
Essentially just open 4 accounts.
4 accounts, yeah. 4 accounts, but make sure you know which ones they are.
Yeah.
Don't keep changing the names on it.
Yeah.
Just as a dangerous word.
Yes.
So, as a rule of thumb, is there a certain amount of profit you put back into your business?
So I tend to operate on 50%. That's just me. And I think that that's how fast you want growth and what opportunities are right in front of you.
So sorry.
No, it's okay. I tend to operate at 50% because, and here's how I got there. And for many years, it was almost 100%. For many years, the only money I took out of my business is what it cost me to live the lifestyle I wanted. But I got to the point now where the business generates enough profit that I can start to receive some of the benefit of it. I could put 100% back in and double down on my growth. Depends on what opportunities are in front of you. Let's say, for instance, an expansion opportunity showed up with the most talented person I could ever imagine, and I need to launch an expansion market. And it's going to cost me $100,000 to do that. And maybe my business profited $250,000. I could make the choice. I'm going to take the $100,000 and I'm going to invest it in that expansion market right now, as opposed to I'm going to take that as my profit. Remember, profit is the fuel for your next business venture. Right? So that's the key. It's not just about supporting your lifestyle. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so, where are we going?
I'm just going to change the display so it doesn't time out on you.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, so the next part of this, guys, the other thing is, I use credit cards to run my business, okay? Not as a line of credit. Do not confuse what a credit card is with a line of credit. I don't like doing debit transactions out of my bank account. I like predictability in my bank accounts. And again, this is all experience driven. This is because I was unpredictable and everything was chaotic, so I've kind of pendulum swung all the way back. Here's how I do it. I have 2 credit cards. One has a very high limit, which I run every recurring expense in my business through, including the rent that I pay, including my fees to KW, including all my advertising, anything that I can give a credit card for that's going to bill me monthly, that's part of my recurring operating expenses, goes on one credit card. And then I have a second credit card with a low limit. And I use that credit card for my walking around money. That's I'm going to buy a client a coffee, I'm going to go out to lunch, I'm going to pay for it, somebody had a baby, I'm going to send them, a present, that's that card. Now, it's basically, I broke it up into recurring predictable expenses and discretionary expenses. So I have 2 credit cards, and we pay them off every month. But I know exactly how much the recurring expenses are every month because I know exactly what 15 vendors hit that card every single month. So it gets charged and it gets paid out of the operating account once a month. Okay? And then the discretionary one, I know that that's going to be between $600, $1,500 a month, depending on what I'm doing. It's going to be closer to the higher end if I go on a trip somewhere, I take a class, because then I have, meals and expenses and things like that. It's going to be at the lower end if I'm in the market predominantly and just going out and having coffee with clients. Okay? Makes sense? That, again, is just a system that I use that has helped me manage my expenses. That's helped me keep control of it and watch it closely.
So that second one is really another business one, it's just.
They're both business credit cards.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, oh, and by the way, I do have a personal credit card too that I use when I take my kids to the movies. And the value of, credit cards are often, for a lot of us, credit cards are this evil demon because we get ourselves into trouble. We overuse them. But credit cards can be a really valuable tool. See, cash flow is a real thing in business. Like 80% of my income in a given month comes in the last week of the month. 80%. But do my expenses all come in the same time? No. Sometimes we're chasing the dollar to pay the bill, and we know that next week we're getting calls from somebody. You have to pay a bill. You have to pay a bill, and the next week we're going to have 8 times the amount of money. But that doesn't make them stop calling, and that causes us anxiety and stress and all kinds of duress. That's unnecessary. But the cash flow of our business is complicated. Our cash flow doesn't operate like other businesses. It's not predictable. It's not consistent. And so the credit card can be a tool that will allow you to even that out, as long as you stick to the rules. You bend the rules, you're in trouble. But stick to the rules. Don't overspend the amount of money that you're going to be able to pay off within 30 days. And if you won't have that income, don't use it at all.
Why not a line of credit when the mortgage rates are low?
Line of credit could work too. Yep. Line of credit could absolutely work. Okay, and then you've got a fixed payment on it. Yep. Whatever system is going to work for you guys is the key. Okay? Yeah.
But there's no real financial benefit to not using the debit versus
No.
the credit. That's just your personal.
It's just my personal preference. I like to keep my operating account with as few transactions as possible, right? Because I like to be able to look at it and say, this is just what I've found works for me. I like to be able to open my bank statement and say we wrote 4 checks, and then we wrote the credit card bill, which is where everything else went. And the other value of that is that my credit card statement is itemized, categorized, there's graphs, there's charts, and there's points. There's like all the other benefits that go along with it. So I have an American Express that gives me airline miles, and pretty much every year for the past 6 years I've gone to family reunion using the points. Like, that's just cool. That's the other, that's just a benefit. But it's only a benefit if you're not paying 29% on if you're not carrying a balance.
I was just gonna say, yeah, because that's a lot of interest.
Well, you shouldn't pay any interest if you're paying it once a month.
Right.
You gotta pay it within your 30 days.
Right.
So you just pay the balance when the bill comes. Pay the balance, and if you know what the balance is, and it's part of your operating expenses in your business, you should be able to control that. This is, again, I told you guys I was gonna get a little technical and go a little more, I'm not recommending that tomorrow everybody go out and open 2 credit cards and 5 bank accounts. I'm just telling you what the evolution is to get to the point where you've got this fully functional business with each component doing its own thing. Step 1, make sure you've got a business account and a personal account, and make sure you know how much it costs you in each one. Step 2, build up 3 months of reserves to cover those expenses. Step 3, open a capital account and make sure that you're keeping your tax account separate from the rest of your money. That's your process, okay? And then eventually, if you get sophisticated and you want to open up multiple credit cards because you want to segment your expenses differently, you can do that. Okay? Any questions about this? The other thing that comes up, guys, is this LLC, S Corp, sole proprietor, all that stuff. A lot of times that won't play a role until you get to the point where your business is at probably around $500,000 in GCI or more. Anybody in here, just show of hands, have an LLC that they run their business as? Okay. Anybody running as an S Corp?
22 this year.
This year? Yep. I made the shift last year. There are benefits. These are conversations you need to have with your accountant as to why you would do one versus the other. The simple understanding of the difference in LLC, it's a direct pass-through in your taxes. The money you make, you are subject to self-employment tax. An S Corp, you're not subject to self-employment tax because technically you're an employee of your company. But in order to be an employee of your company, you need to be able to pay yourself every 2 weeks like a salary standard without missing. And if you can't do that, then you don't meet the qualification, and the IRS won't allow you to avoid self-employment tax because they're saying, oh, you're just doing an end around. So again, this is a conversation for your accountant and you to have based on your cash flow and your business model, which, by the way, are you going to be able to have that conversation without a P&L? No, you're not, right? But here's the important thing. Being an S Corp will save you about 15% in your self-employment taxes. So that's a lot of money. You're talking about $1 million in GCI, that's $20,000 to $30,000 a year that you save in tax liability just simply by filing differently. But you can't have that wouldn't everybody here like an extra 20, 30 grand? Yeah. But you can't have that conversation unless you run your business like a business. Okay?
What about liability? Do you know the liability difference?
I think
Not tax.
no. My understanding is that they're comparable, that they're separate entities. So an S Corp is a separate entity, an LLC is a separate entity, and those separate entities have their own liability associated with them. For most of us, that's not really a big concern because most of us are covered by Keller Williams, who is the broker. They're the liable party unless we do something egregious, but they're the one that would cover us through errors and omissions and so on. But, okay, so the last thing that Gary talked about is how you operate and run your business in this environment. And that is to invest in your business first and your lifestyle second. Okay? What does that mean? Here's what it means. It means that when you want your business to generate something for you, you have to invest in it. We talked about profit being the engine and the gasoline that fuels your future growth. So profit isn't just the money that you put in your pocket. Profit is what enables you to take the next step in your business. So we have to be tracking it, we have to be targeting it, and we have to know what it's going to do for us. So Robert Kiyosaki talks about a true luxury is a reward for investing in and developing a real asset. This was one of the most poignant things I remember learning, was that he said, look, if you want to own a beach house, don't go buy a beach house. Go buy an investment property that'll generate the income that will allow you to go buy a beach house. And that hit me. I was like, that's what he means by investing in a business. Because your dollars are your most valuable asset. They're the thing that can do the most for you if you use them right. Now, if you invest your dollars and you lose them, that's terrible. If you invest your dollars and you make $2 back, that's okay. If you invest your dollar and you make 10 back, that's awesome. Like if I could put a machine on this table, like you could just stick $1 in and 10 would show up out the back. All of us would be standing here all day long, right? Just putting them in. Well, technically we have that. We actually have a business that will allow us to do that. If you put the money in the right place, $10 show up for every dollar you spend. But we're not tracking it. We don't necessarily know what place to put it. So what Gary's talking about here is invest in the things that will invest in you. People, tools, and systems. Don't take the money and go put the patio in until you've taken the money and made your business stronger. Bulletproof your business. Get the right talented people in the right seats. Pay them a living wage. Pay them what they pay the good talented people the amount of money that they validate in a return on investment in your business. Okay? Any questions about that? You want to hear Gary talk about it? He's got an interesting take on it.
Number 4, invest in your business first and lifestyle second, right? So business is a nice car, lifestyle is a luxury car. Business is presentable office, lifestyle is exclusive address. Business is a new hire, lifestyle is in Italy, right? Or France. Business is strategic giving, lifestyle is country club membership. Business is an affordable house, lifestyle is prestigious house. You know?
So he was notorious. I don't know what the make of the car was, but for driving an old car for years, up until like 2007 or something, he had like a 10-year-old car with 180,000 miles on it. Because you talk about how much did he reinvest in his business? A lot. He didn't start taking money out of his business until probably a couple of years ago. He hadn't hit his goal yet. His goal was huge. His goal was, number 1 in agent count, number 1 in productivity. Till he got there, he was doubling down. We just all treat our business the same way. Okay, so here's what I have tried to illustrate, and I hope I have succeeded in. The language of business is numbers. Okay? If you are not paying attention to the numbers, you're not running a business. You've got a hobby. I am not judging you. It's okay to have a hobby that makes you money sometimes. It's totally okay. The reality, though, is if you want to be a business owner, have a productive business, and have a profitable business, you need to learn the language of numbers. Numbers is what people are going to talk about. And if you ever want to have a saleable asset, something that someone else would pay for, you had best be able to explicitly explain what those numbers are in your business. So, are you running a business or do you have an expensive hobby? Are you making good business decisions or are you a good guesser? Ultimately, the story I told you guys was about the funding a perfect life. I had a productive business. I was doing everything right on the surface, but behind the scenes, I did not have a perfect life. It was really difficult. And those of you that have lived through it understand where I'm coming from. This is why I'm so passionate about sharing the story and why I want everybody to leave here and at least feel like they know this is important and they're going to take the next step. You guys took the first step. You showed up today. I know this is not the most sexy topic, right? Profit and loss. It's not how to become a luxury agent. It's not how to create more, but it is more fundamental than any of those things. It's more fundamental than script practice. It's more fundamental than anything. Run your business like a business. It will create a foundation that is bulletproof. Okay? Any questions, guys?
Yeah,
Anything else?
Do your kids know how to run a P&L statement?
My wife does now. She does. When I started, when I really got into this, that was a big part of it, was sharing the truth, was just putting it all on paper and starting from, okay, here's where it's at. So yeah, I made a lot of money and we spent way too much. And we really couldn't afford that trip to Disney that we took with the kids. And we really couldn't afford that thing that we did. And you know what? We have to start somewhere. So let's just start. And that was really what it came down to. So now my wife and I actually review, and she's not on my team, she's not part of it, but I review the P&L with her every month. And that's strengthened our relationship. I mean, now she really gets it. She understands the complexities of the decisions I have to make sometimes, which sometimes there's it looks so easy. Oh, you're just out showing houses, or you're going all this, so where's all the money? And it's like, well, there's like 75 things that we spend money on every month. So, so guys, I appreciate you taking the time. I hope this has been really, really valuable. Before you leave, I am, as you've seen this logo, reprofit.com, so I am a co-founder of a software company, and we built, myself and my business partner Matt Erdman built software around this exact thing. So it is an automated software system that you can log into, link your business and personal banking accounts to. It'll tie you directly back to MREA budgets and create a profit and loss statement for you instantaneously in about 20 minutes. Just out of curiosity, anybody in here on the system using it? Have you guys logged in and gotten on?
I think I have to talk to you about my email.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, we haven't.
You haven't done it?
There's a problem with linking my bank.
One of your banks, okay. So we have relationships with about 16,000 financial institutions. Every once in a while we come up with one that is a little bit wonky, but we generally we've had about a 95% success rate fixing them. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna show you guys a quick demo. It'll take about 5 minutes, okay? So you can see what the system does. And I appreciate you hanging around. Okay guys, so the company is ReProfit. It's simple, automated, it is web-based. Okay, the idea behind this is that if you have a bank, and this idea kind of came out of my business partner and I when we set out to solve this problem for our ALC. We locked ourselves in a conference room every Wednesday morning from 6 a.m. until 9. And we did that week after week after week, and we created all kinds of things around this topic. And what ultimately came out was that we knew behaviorally, real estate agents that were running successful businesses were gonna really have a hard time diving into the economics of the business. So we knew we had to automate most of this. So what we did is we built a platform that's gonna link directly to your bank accounts. When you log on, you're gonna see a page like this. You're gonna select which bank account you have. As I mentioned, we have relationships with 16,000 financial institutions across the US. Even some really archaic and small ones with single branches. It's just you just got to go. We have to just go in and see if we have the relationship with your bank. Once you link your bank, it's going to pull all of your transaction data over and plug it into the system. Okay. The coolest thing about this, the part that gets me super excited, is that when we built it, we took 20 test cases from around the country, agents that we work with, who gave us all their transaction data for a year, and we pre-categorized everything. So what everybody gets freaked out about is, oh my God, I gotta go in, I gotta put it in this bucket or that bucket or this bucket or that bucket. We did all that. So the system will recognize about 60 to 70% of your transactions. It's already gonna put it in the right bucket, which means that if it was a lead gen expense, it's gonna go into lead gen, which means that if it's an advertising expense, it's gonna go into advertising.
But how do you know that? How do you know that?
So it's all done in the back end coding. So we know each transaction that comes over, for instance, CVS Pharmacy.
Right.
It comes over with, like, the best way to explain it is a tag, right? It's tagged by the banking institutions as a transaction that comes from this particular vendor. When the system recognizes that, it knows, okay, CVS Pharmacy, probably not a business expense, probably a personal expense. It's going to drop it into that bucket.
What about like MLS? It'll
MLS, it'll know. Now, every MLS is different. Obviously, there's thousands of them across the country. We have customers from Portland, Oregon, to Texas, to Maine and Florida. So some of these things you have to put in, and as the system gets more robust, it will memorize more and more transactions, and it'll start to automatically categorize more and more things.
How about health insurance?
Health insurance is technically a personal expense, unless you're paying for it through your business. Yep.
Do you have to link both your business account and your personal account?
You do not. If you're not using your personal account to fund your business, then you do not link your personal account. The ideal scenario, like we built it because we know a lot of agents commingle. So we built it with the idea that if you're a commingler, it's okay. You don't have to stand up and say. But if you are, the system will still work for you. It's just going to work harder, and it's going to be harder to work for you because you've got to identify what's personal and what's business. So if you have a business account and you link it, then we are going to assume that 100% of those expenses are business expenses, okay? So it pulls all your transaction data over. And once the data is pulled over, it's automatically going to create this. That means you don't have to shuffle through and put it into buckets and figure out where it goes. It's automatically going to create. Now this, guys, is a profit and loss statement.
You have to review it though to make sure it's accurate.
Bingo. That's the whole point. Exactly. So you shouldn't have to make sure it's accurate. It's going to be accurate. It's numbers. So the math is going to be correct.
Well, yeah,
but where things land might not be
exactly.
right. Exactly.
Do they
So
end up in that bucket or this bucket?
So when you start your account, everything's going to get automated.
Right.
And yes, you're going to have to do a little bit of, okay, let me open up my operating expenses lead gen and make sure the stuff that went in there is exactly what I want. Because we're not going to know who your photographer is.
Exactly.
You have Joe Schmo photography. We don't know. You go to some local Italian restaurant up here that you took a client to. The system might not know that. However, once you set it, it'll remember it forever.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Sure, fire away.
Can you also link your business credit cards to this?
Yes, all credit cards, banking institutions, anything that has any online banking access, you can link to it. So as long as you have a username and an online banking setup, you can link to RE Profit. Yes.
So back to where you said CVS. Say
Yep.
if you went into CVS and you bought pens, I mean, that's an office
could totally-
expense, but
you
you can go in and physically change those out.
And you can change it either as a single time or a remember forever.
Okay.
If CVS is your always stop, hey, I stop at CVS and I always get my office supplies at CVS because I have a coupon there and that's my office supply spot, you can change it forever and it'll remember it forever.
But you could use your business credit card too, so
That's
it's going
right.
to show up your business credit card, then you just pay that
You
credit
can
card.
also create a percentage of the sale.
That's right. That's right.
So if you go to CVS just once for business stuff, and you know that transaction, you can go in there and take that dollar amount and put it in there just for that sale.
That's super sophisticated. You can
Sorry.
split. No, it's okay. You can. We built the system for the most rudimentary user and all the way up to an advanced user. So you can split expenses. So let's say I use Costco or BJ's, for example. I go to Costco, I go to BJ's, and I pick up my office supplies. I get a computer, and I get all my groceries for the month. And I'm checking out, and I check out one time, and I use my business credit card, but I got some groceries. I can split the expense so that I can say, okay, well, this portion of that was actually a personal expense, and this portion of it was a business expense.
How do you do that?
It's built into the system.
It is?
Yeah. You click on the module next to the expense, it'll open up a split expense thing, and then you plug the numbers in. Again, it's sophisticated. I'm not going to encourage you guys to do that. I'm going to encourage you to use separate bank accounts because that's what we're actually capable of. I mean, that's what we're going to be good at. Okay, so if you're really a numbers person and you want to dive deep into it, the system will allow you to get as deep as you want.
So if you have taken people out to a restaurant
Yep.
and it's on your business card, it will just go into meals?
It'll go right into it. Yep. Now again, if the name of that restaurant is John's Photography Shop,
right,
the system might think it's photography.
Oh,
But you might have to go in and change it one time and say, hey, anytime I go to this restaurant with this credit card, always going to be meals and entertainment. The system will remember that forever.
So you just kind of like review it weekly or
Review
whatever?
it, yeah, review it weekly, and a lot of that's going to depend on how many transactions you have. How many things do you need to review? If you review it weekly, monthly, daily, depends. It just depends on how extensive how robust of a business you have and how many times you're using your credit cards.
Right.
Go ahead.
When the information is pulled from either our credit card company or from our bank statement, which information is better for the system to use? Is the information from the credit card company being sent more detailed than it is from our bank accounts? Does the
It's a
system
great
work better?
question, and it totally depends on the banking institution. So American Express is different than Citibank. Citibank is different from Chase. Chase is different from the American Eagle Federal Credit Union. They all have different databases and different back ends and different software that they use. So the best way to explain, the best thing I can tell you is that once the system's up and running, which it takes about 20 minutes to do, once it's up and running, you're going to spend probably 10 to 15 minutes a week training the system, right? Logging in and just making sure that the transactions go where they want. Once you've done that, once you've got about 30 to 60 days worth of data in there, this thing is going to run on its own. It's going to run on its own forever, and unless you have some random expense that you've never had before, you're not going to have to do much. It's going to consistently kick out your P&L, and it's going to start to give you the numbers you need in order to make business decisions around your business. Okay? You had a question? Yeah.
I have two questions. One, how much does it cost?
Sure. Cut right to the chase. High D in the room.
Yeah.
Here we go.
And two, if I were to start this, let's say in April,
Yep.
would I be able to download my history from January to April?
Yes, so you can backdate, but that is limited based on your financial institution, okay? So what we have found is most financial institutions will give you 12 months worth of historical data.
Yeah.
So you can get up to a year of historical data in a format that can be uploaded into this. Now, we can backdate it for you back to the beginning of the year. We were doing this for people up during our beta test all the way back to the beginning of 2016. So we were signing people up in August and getting all their banking and financial institution all the way back to the first of the year. That window is now closing to get back to the beginning of 16 because we're getting into the year and some banks are only giving 10 months. 11 months. But the answer is, if you can get the information from your bank, it can be uploaded into the system, okay?
And the security.
Yeah, so the security, I'll give you the backstory on that.
You didn't answer the other question.
Well, how much does it cost?
Yeah.
Can I get to that?
Yes.
Yeah, I promise I'm gonna get to that.
You're gonna wait till the end.
Yeah.
Right, last
Promise.
dance, otherwise everybody loses everything.
Yeah, I promise I'm gonna get to that. So the security. So this system was not built by two guys in a garage, and it was not built by me, okay? We hired a company out of Washington, D.C. that are renowned for their security software development. They work for the Department of Defense. The name of the company is Coveros, C-O-V-E-R-O-S. They work for the Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security. They're about as, yeah, right.
Yeah.
They're about as highly renowned of a security software developer company as you can get. They speak on it. They run technology forums on it. They're highly, highly respected in that regard. If you're going to ask me about the technical reasons that it's secure, all I can tell you is that it's got massive levels of encryption in it, which mean that it's practically impenetrable. However, the answer that they've told me to tell everybody when people ask about security is that it's as secure as any online banking platform that you might be using today, and as secure as any of those could potentially be, right? And they all get hacked every once in a while. It happens. They explained this to me, and they said it's like an arms race. You have to understand, there's people out there always trying to build stuff to break in, and then there's people that are building stuff to defend. So that said, we are insured. We've got all of the things in place to protect anybody who might have any problems. So, yes.
So we're only putting our business checking in our business credit card. Are we putting our tax money thing on there? Does it need to be?
If you have a tax account, that would go in here also.
And the capital account as well?
And your capital account. Any account that's tied to your business, because technically the money that you're putting in your tax reserve account is still money that's in your business. Now, at the end of the year, I'm going to get a little complex on you. At the end of the year, if you decided to reinvest 100% of the profit that you made, you could have zero tax liability, right? You would have to spend that on something. Say you went out and you'd have to spend it on something that would be 100% tax deductible, but you could make that decision with that money that's in your tax account. So again, all that stuff should be connected to the system, okay?
No, it's just more, I don't think it'd be necessary, only because
it's
I know
only gonna.
it's secure,
Yeah.
it's just more money there to,
Oh,
if there was.
I understand your
I mean-
concern. What I'm saying though is that if you've got a total income, in order for a profit and loss to be accurate, it's gotta have all the information.
Oh, okay,
If you
gotcha.
take information out of it, if you take money out of it, the profit and loss statement's
It's
not
gonna
gonna
say
be
where it-
accurate. It's
where
gonna
it
say
is.
where, it's gonna think you spent it on something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shoes.
Yeah.
I just have a quick question, then I'll stop raising my hand.
No, it's
So
okay.
I know how you said put in the business account and then put it into all the other accounts. I've always been doing it, putting it in my personal account, but I immediately distribute to the other accounts.
Sure.
So is that gonna matter, setting this thing up? That it's put into my personal account and then distributed around?
Are you keeping money in your personal account before you distribute it around?
No, I just had, no,
You put 100% into
into my
the,
personal account, and then I distribute that online to my business account, my tax account, and what you call the capital account.
you distribute it 100% though. You don't keep any in your personal account.
No, I do keep some of
So
it.
you're, so it wouldn't give you an accurate P and L then.
Okay, so I could do it the way that you said it.
You just have to flip it. You
Okay,
just have to
okay,
flip
okay,
it.
yeah.
Deposit it to your business account first, then pay yourself,
Okay.
You had a question?
Yeah, I meant to ask this earlier, and I just remembered. Now, on the personal account, the business account, and tax account, using the example you have up there, so you have 5,000 that you're putting in monthly for your business account out of your main account.
Yep.
Right? Say you don't use that 5,000 that month. Say you have $1,000 left over the following month. Like, you're still putting in that additional 5,000, so now you would have 6,000 in there. Or
Every month.
are you just bringing it up to what you need in a month?
I
'Cause that
don't
might
want
vary.
to, so you could do it either way. Personally, I put the money in, I set the budget, and I run my business on the budget. And then when there's more money in there, it's all my money, I take it out, I move it around, it's all my money, I can do whatever I want with it, but I set the budget and I stick to the budget. That's because the more creative you get, the more likely you make a mistake. Like, that's my experience. The more times we try to well, this time I'll do this, or this time I'll do that, in my opinion, that's where you leave open too many doors. So I set the budget and I stick to the budget. You could do it the other way if you know that you don't need as much in there and keep the rest in your capital account. Again, at the end of the day, it's all your money. So where it sits doesn't really matter, but does that help?
Yeah, well, it's because you might have a really heavy month, like spending for your business on marketing, whatever it may be, and then some months you might not. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
and like you might go to family reunion and spend $4,000 on a trip, right? And then now you've spent that money out of your, so that's a great example. Like when I go to family reunion, I use my credit card to pay for everything. And when that's not part of my monthly budget. That's a business decision that I make every year, that I'm at a point where I'm gonna reinvest some profit in my personal education. And then that becomes an expense that's a one-time expense in February every year. That's an additional transfer from the capital account.
An additional, okay.
Because I have to pay a higher credit card bill because I go on a trip, or sometimes I take team members with me.
But you're keeping 3 months reserve, aren't you,
Yes.
in your business
Yes.
and your personal, so it should cover.
It does, right. I'm just making the example that I have a new baseline in my business, right, which is the zero, which is below the zero is 3 months. And you know, I've been doing this since 2010, running it like a business, you know, or attempting to, and I've had to go into that reserves. I mean, it's insane how big of a business you can have and still not make enough money in a given month to cover your expenses. It's just real, it happens. And so you need the reserve. So, okay, back here, right here, yeah.
I'm confused with the cost of sales because you said part of cost of sales is the split with the company.
That's right.
But that, you never see that money, you
That's
only
right.
get the net check. So how do you actually tell the system?
That's right. So that, you're correct. You will never see that money. So the system's gonna see the deposit.
Yeah.
And you're gonna go in and enter, and I'm gonna get to that in a second. You're gonna actually
Okay,
enter.
so you can manually put things in
Correct.
that.
You're gonna enter what the GCI is for each deposit, okay? Now, let's say that you have one of those awesome days where you actually go and deposit 2 or 3 checks in one day. You go in and you've got 3 closings and you put the deposit in, you can split your deposit too so that it tracks it as 3 separate transactions. And you're gonna put 3 separate amounts for GCI on each one of those. And, this is the best part, you're gonna source the transaction, which is gonna say what lead generation source created this opportunity. And by doing that, you're going to be able to get to a return on investment report. This is probably the most powerful thing, in my opinion, that exists in the industry today. I swear to God, nobody's got this yet. We've got it, and I'm fired up about it. It's amazing, because what this does is it says, you did 60 transactions last year, 20 transactions, 10, 150, it doesn't matter. Whatever transactions you did, you spent some money to get to them. The system tracks what money you spent based on what return you got for each thing that you spent money on. So let's just use this one for example. If you spent on Zillow $1,979.61, the system knows what you spent because you're plugging your expenses in through your business and credit card. It also knows what your total GCI generated off of those expenses are because you're sourcing your income. You're saying, I got this lead from this place, and that's money that I spent. So it's telling you, you got a 2,336% return from Zillow. That's not bad. That's pretty awesome. Now, normally, we might also spend some money on Trulia, and obviously they're the same thing, right? So they're not selling that, but if you spent $1,668 on Trulia, and you made $12,810, you'd still be pretty psyched. You'd be like, awesome. I spent $1,000, I spent $1,800, I made 12 grand. That's great. But what if you were running your business like a business? Wouldn't you take that money and put it up here? Wouldn't you double down on the thing that's creating a 2,000% return versus the thing creating a 600% return? Well, you would, because that's how you hold your dollars accountable. Now, you can say, I'm happy with a 600% return. I would be happy with a 600% return too. But not if I could get a 48% return, a 2,000% return.
Right.
The system's going to track all that for you. So if you're and you can customize your lead gen sources. If you're doing a farm, if you've got a database campaign, if you run a party for your clients, you create that category, you tie the expenses to that category as a lead gen expense, and then opportunities that come out of that actually result in a closing are your return on investment. Okay? So this is probably my favorite part of this.
That's awesome.
This is because now I know what money I'm spending is generating a return for me. And it's automated. I don't even have to take out a calculator. I just plug it in. I look. It's awesome.
It's the ultimate red light, green light.
It's the ultimate red light, green light. Exactly.
So this is for lead gen only, or for all your expenses?
This is for all your expenses. So I'll go back to the P&L. So couple other things that you can do here, and I got a little sidetracked with questions, and I'm psyched that I have such an engaged group. But so you set your budget up here, okay? If you're 12 million, 8 million, 24 million, you set your budget based on what your production volume is. When you set your budget, this budget, which is what you should be spending, here, and in every category is going to change based on where you should be. These are based on MREA best practices. So you can toggle between your budget. So you could say, well, I'm at 7 million now, but I might be pacing to do 12 million. What would I need to be spending? Where would my opportunities be if I was pacing to do a $12 million business? You could toggle between it. It'll change the budget. It'll red light, green light right away. It'll tell you where your green opportunities are. You'll see, maybe you can tell or not, but some of these are green, some of these are red. So it automatically tells you where you're on and where you're off. The system shows you that. Red does not mean bad, guys. Just don't misunderstand red is bad, green is good. That's not what it is. It's just, it's an indicator that says pay attention to this. Red means, hey, you're overspending. You might be overspending on something, but that might be your business model. I happen to spend a lot of money on internet lead generation. I'm outside of model, but it's a business decision because I get the return on investment that I want. But I made the decision. So mine shows up red. It's not necessarily bad, but I'm paying attention. I'm making the business decision. Okay?
What if you're just starting out and you don't know what your budget, your performance, all of that is?
When you say just starting out, brand new agent.
Starting your business.
Brand new agent. Haven't sold a thing yet.
Well,
Yeah,
just
haven't
starting.
sold a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to start with the lowest possible budget, which is going to be $3 million in production, which is probably right around what, just capping? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. So you're going to see if you do that you have virtually no cost of sale, you have nothing in salaries, right? All of those numbers are going to automatically shift. They're going to change for somebody who's automatic. This is all MREA stuff. We took this right from the book. So it tells you exactly what your expenses should be at those levels.
Okay.
Now, if you go up to 40 million, you're going to see cost of sale is really high, and so is salaries. All of those expenses are much, much higher. So, yeah.
is this an app-based as well, or is it just on
So
computer?
it's in a system that's called Bootstrap, which means that if you go on your phone to use it, you can use it, but it's not a separate app from the App Store.
All right,
Okay, so it's web-based online, and if you go on your mobile, it works perfectly fine, but it's not a separate app.
Now, what kind of training? Do you have videos? Do you have tutorials?
There's
things
tons of
that set up for
videos.
that?
I mean, we've probably done about 50 videos that are on there's a whole training and education section, so you can go in and watch a video on just about anything that the site can do. It's my ugly mug or Matt's ugly mug doing the videos, so forgive us in advance for that, but it's just us going in and saying, so if you want to split an expense, you click here, and it does it. And then we have customer support in the office 9 to 5.
And they'll work with you?
Yeah, they'll work with you. If you have trouble, you just call up. I mean, that's what they're there for. We have 4 people at this point that are just servicing our clients. So it's been an exciting run. We've got a lot of adoption.
Is there a page you were talking about as they pull our entries into the system and categorize them properly? Is there a way to pull up to see all of our categories and
Yes.
what each one was
Yes.
categorized?
So on your P&L page, okay, each thing is expandable. All right, so that's the ROI report. Ready for pricing?
Yes.
Yay! This is actually $228. I didn't change that. So we're going to give it to you for free if you sign up today till the end of February. Okay, so you sign up today and it's free. It's a free trial. There's no commitment, no contract. So you can plug in. In addition to that, we're going to give you a free 30-minute onboarding call. Okay. Once the free period is over, it's $39 a month to have access to the system, or it's an annual $350 a year. Okay. So obviously, we built the pricing around trying to make it a no-brainer for you guys. Just the simple fact that you're not going to have to spend your time putting the stuff into an Excel spreadsheet, going through your bank accounts and categorizing your stuff for your accountant should make it worth the $350 a year. And if you don't want to spend it $350 a year, just the knowledge of being able to know where you're spending your money month over month should be worth $39. So that's the idea. So sign up today. It's free till the end of February. Okay. Do me a favor, because how many of you guys have signed up before?
That haven't used it.
And how many of you have actually gone through the onboarding? 1, 2. Okay, so we've got a couple of people in the room that signed up when I was here with Brad,
Yeah.
or somewhere else. Okay. So you're going to get an email you sign up today, you're getting an email within 48 hours, 3 days. And the email is going to say, click the link to set up your free onboarding call. If you don't click the link, you're just going to wait and wait and wait. Get into action, guys. Do it, because we're there ready to put you into the system and get you set up.
And then someone will assist you.
Someone will assist you. It's a live call where we'll get you up and running. Okay, so we will be on the phone. One of our onboarding specialists will be on the phone with you for 30 minutes, as long as it takes. We say 30 minutes. It could take 45 minutes. It could take 10. Just depends on how many bank accounts you have, how complicated your system is. We upload it, we get everything connected, and we're good to go. Okay?
Thank you.
No problem. So that's how it works. So obviously how RE Profit pays for itself, time, efficiency, and profitability. So to your question, you were asking about where can I see the data, right? So you create your own budget. I talked about that. You can view your budgets based on year-to-date, current month, prior month, 12-month rolling, any system, any time period that you're looking for. So if you just want to analyze how did I do the last quarter, how did I do the last year, you can go in and do that. You can, so red light, green lights, the budget adjusts for production level. It's also got this little dashboard here. This is one of the other cool things. This is going to tell you what your net profit is out of your business, what your estimated tax liability is based on what percentage you set, and based on what your owner draw is, meaning what money have you already taken out of your business. Why I love this example is because if you look at this is a business that profited $63,000, okay? The estimated tax liability is $19,000. The owner draw for this particular business is $67,000. So that means that this agent has pulled 67 grand out of the business, okay? Profit in the agent's bank account, okay? Available capital is $22,000. Here's where this is a great example. This agent probably has about 15 grand sitting in the bank. Probably feeling pretty good about the money because that tax money is still theirs. So they've overdrawn against their business. Their business generated $63,000 in net profit after tax, right? But the problem is they pulled $67,000 out. So they're overdrawn against their business.
Right,
They wouldn't feel that way because they've got money sitting in the bank.
right.
This is the point, guys. This is what the numbers are that you need in order to be paying attention to, okay? All right, so then this is to your point. So each one of these expense categories opens up. These are MREA categories, okay? This comes right out of the MREA budget model. This is exactly what the budget categories are, and the current budget numbers are based on what they are for that level of performance that you're at, for that level of volume and production. Each one of those arrows expands and shows you the actual transactions. So you can get down to the transaction level from any page.
Can you change it from this page? If you saw an entry was wrong?
Yep, you can change it from any page. So if you were to click on this, you can change it right here. It opens up a module and it says, okay, where should it go? So if you see something in there that's like, oh, that's not salaries, that belongs in lead generation, you can change it right from there.
So how much time a week do you have to put into this, or a month?
It really depends on your business, but it shouldn't be more than 10 minutes.
A week?
It really shouldn't be more than 10 minutes.
Once
I
you
mean,
get used to it.
once you're linked up and your business is popping over and all of your income and transactions are coming over, you should be able to go in there and open your P&L, open your last week worth of transactions, make sure everything got categorized correctly, and make sure that your income is sourced. And beyond that, the system itself will do the rest. Now, you may choose, if you do what I did, you're going to choose to spend more time because it's going to open that can of worms like, oh, now I want to learn.
Right.
Now I want to learn. What am I spending? Now I want to spend. The first time I looked at a P&L, it was like 8 minutes. I was like, that looks terrible. I hate it. And I threw it away. The second time I said, okay, it looks terrible, but what exactly is going on here? And now I spend a ridiculous amount looking at my P&L. I mean, I'm probably 40 minutes a week. I go through every line item. I try to figure out where can I save money, where can I reinvest. Like, it's become a little bit of a game for me. And I'm not a math guy. Like, I'm not, this just took training and education, but now I see the results from it. It's like lead gen. You know, in the beginning, we hate lead gen. Then we do it, and we're like, oh my God, I got all these appointments. This is cool. But then we hate it again. And then we say, well, maybe I should do some more. Maybe I should do more. And then eventually you get kind of hooked on it. So, same deal. Yes?
So two things. Is this something that we print out to bring to our account?
Yes, so there's a button that will print to your Schedule C. Literally, you print to Schedule C, you'll hand it to your accountant. Your accountant will be able to file your taxes based on your expenses.
And if you out and about and happen to spend cash on something,
Yes.
what do you do?
So, depends on where the cash came from. So as long as the cash was withdrawn from your account, you'll have it, if you use your ATM card, you go use your ATM, you take $300 out
Of your business account?
of your business account.
Is everything, yeah, okay.
Right? Now, if you spent, that's the anomaly, right? Is that if you happen to have some walking around cash and you spend that, you can enter an expense. I would recommend against it. If there's any way to avoid putting stuff into the system that came from another source, I would recommend against it. Use your debit card, your credit card, or take cash from your business account if you need cash. That would be, because then everything's all in one place. You can work the system to work for you. If you're somebody that takes personal cash and spends it on your business frequently, the system will allow for that, but you're just creating extra work for yourself that's not necessary. If you just change the habit of where you spend the money from,
Would
you've
you
solved
have
the
to,
problem.
because I have a, not that these are business receipts, they're partial receipts, but
Yes.
what I'm saying
Yes.
is, I mean, occasionally you buy something for your business, so do you have to copy that and put it in?
No, so the
You don't need your receipts anymore.
You don't need your
you do, yeah, this is,
That's not quite-
you truly do need your
Oh, I
receipts.
throw
In
them
case.
away.
Look, if it was up to a bookkeeper or an accountant, and I know you got a question, I'm gonna get to it. If it was up to a bookkeeper or an accountant, they would take your bank statement,
Yeah.
they would categorize every single receipt and staple them together and keep them perfectly filed. That is overkill and absolutely unnecessary in my opinion. I am not an accountant and I am not authorized to give that kind of advice, okay? However, I think that is a bad business decision to spend that much time categorizing receipts. You do need to have them. Now, somebody asked me last week, I was doing this class in Concord, what system do you use? I use the box method. I have a box, I put the receipts in the box, I close the box. If I'm ever audited, it will be painful, because I'll have to go through the receipts and mark them up against the expenses. However, if I have a P&L and all of my expenses are legitimate, and an audit comes my way, and I show them 12 months worth of P&Ls and business bank statements that back it up, and expenses and a business that validates, they're probably not going receipt deep. They probably can make some decisions based on what they want to see. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they're not going to say, validate that $8 Starbucks. They're unlikely that it's, you know, I have it, it's here, it's in the box. Do I really need to like find it, like $8 for Starbucks? I don't think so. You know, by the way, like, you don't have receipts when you sign up for Zillow. You get a Zillow account, it's $300 a month, that's tax deductible, there's no paper receipt. You need receipts for cash expenses if you want to deduct. That's really what it comes down to, so, okay, yes.
I don't know whether you're using an app or otherwise, but what about like eating car expenses, you know?
What do you mean?
Well, you know, your standard mileage, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, yep.
You know.
So why that is not part of your P&L? Because mileage deduction is a tax deduction, but it does not impact your profit. It impacts your deductible expenses on your taxes, okay? So it's not about profit and loss. So this isn't a tax filing software, this is a business running software. So the difference is, are you gonna have mileage deductions on your tax return? You are. But I don't want you to think about this as something you use to file your taxes. At the end of the year, you're gonna be able to give your accountant the expenses associated with your business, and he's gonna say, how many miles did you drive? And you either have a Mile IQ tracker or something else that you use in order to track your mileage, and that's gonna calculate what your mileage deduction is, but they're different.
Yeah.
See, a mileage deduction can give you a false sense of security around your business, because all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't even know what it is, 56 cents a mile, and now all of a sudden you think that's reducing the actual expense. It can give you a misdirection in how much money you actually have, okay? Any other questions, guys?
I have one, but you might not. For them.
So let me do this then. So guys, if you sign up today, and I'm going to ask everybody to sign up, every single one of you.
If you signed up already.
If you've signed up already, you do not need to fill this out. If you haven't signed up and you're interested, please do fill it out.
You have the wrong email for this.
Oh, okay.
It was Karen.
Oh, Karen's one of our onboarding specialists. Yep. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, guys. And I'll be here for a little while. Thank you for your questions.
Except for the one about calls.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I hope this was helpful.
Categorize all my stuff.
Hope you guys learned something.
I understand these things.
Oh.
The reason I have all of this.
Cool, yeah, you were like, I know what my profit is. I'm like, a star student in here, so.
I already signed up.
Oh, yeah, so
I
tell me
need,
what's
so
going on.
it's Georgetown Bank, but the link you bring on, but to sign into Georgetown Bank is screwy.
You've got MFA, multi-factor authentication.
Sure.
Yes. So there are some banks that have so many levels to get into them that our system's built with like 3 levels, right? So we can go 3. And then there's a couple of random banks that have like 4, or they have the picture, or they have something else that makes it really challenging. Somebody's working on it though.
Yes, but I check in every once in a while, and she says somebody's working on it.
Okay.
I'm dealing with Tasha.
Tasha, okay, cool. Yep.
And she said somebody's working on it. Do I need to go to the bank or anything like that?
No, there's nothing, unfortunately, that they'll be able to do at the branch level.
Okay.
You know, and the worst case scenario is that we're gonna say, sorry, we can't work with your bank. Which if that's the case, you know, you obviously can get a different bank account. I know that's painful to do, although it's the beginning of the year, which would make it reasonable to do it.
They're actually it's being bought out by Salem 5 right now.
Oh, and I know we work with them because we actually had a number of people that were with Salem 5. And initially they had an MFA issue, but we fixed it. We put like 10 people in the system last week.
Okay, so I wonder if it's the same thing. So when you click on login, it brings you to another page. But when
It's good to see you.
then you put your stuff in that.
No, I go, what am I
You
going
put in your name
That's
and
good
then
for
you put
you.
your name. So it's definitely, it's screwed because I forget
Yeah.
all the time, like
Yeah.
how I'm supposed to get into my own bank account.
That's totally screwed, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so then, so I should just sit and wait.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll definitely, we've got a spreadsheet that we call the problem child spreadsheet.
Oh, problem child.
That's okay, we'll set you up,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, it's long, Margaret@margaretbelmonte.com.
Okay,
but
cool.
it's there.
Thank you, Margaret.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you for all your
welcome.
questions.
Yeah. No, it-
I didn't stop mine yet, but, no, I didn't stop it. No, you can stop it. That's good.
All right, so.
Yeah, you're on the
I'll
problem
just-
child
all right.
spreadsheet.
I'll
It's not
sit
your
and
fault.
wait. Maybe I'll just check in with her and say, hey.
Yeah, I would
talk to Matt.
shoot her an email and just, ask her what the update is, and she should be able to get back to you.
All right, and hopefully